that Amy? Go for it.
No.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Woodstock Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting. Thursday, July 18th, 2024, at 7 p.m. I have 7:37 because I didn't get the Zoom meeting to start. I apologize for holding this up. Go for the roll call. Mark Blackman, would you please start us off?
Betcha.
Mark Blackman.
Joseph at 11.
Doug Porter made a reappearance.
Sid Bluffett.
Jeffrey Marcotte.
Aaron Farbo.
Joe Pollick. John Day.
Appears we have a quorum. I don't see anybody online. Dwight, Ryan Woods, Tim Young, and Dean Rule informed me that they were not able to make it tonight, so we would pull the wagon without them. It appears we need a couple alternates. So Doug and Dan, I guess I'll seat no alphabetical order. Doug Porter and John Day, thank you both. And that brings us to the pledge of allegiance.
Well, the weekend to the United States of America. To the more
Very exciting chair's report this evening. Only 363 more days until Prime Day again. That brings us to citizens' comments. We have a couple of things. Yes, was there any citizen comments for anyone? Citizens or non-citizens? There's some meeting minutes to approve from June 20th.
to accept the minutes of the June 20th meeting as presented.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Adeletta to accept the minutes as presented, seconded by Commissioner Farwell. Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Mark Blackman? Mark and Doug abstain, but that's so fast. Just thank you, everyone. Good business. Really isn't any more business, but before I get carried out of confused, we'd like to add to the agenda the E&S bond release for Woodstock Valley Store and also the. Good evening, David. Good evening. Please note for the record, David Morse is joining us at 7:31 p.m. And we also, well, I suggested we add the zoning permit as well for a deck at the new Italian restaurant, which is on station. Mama Italia. And
Where would you like to put that?
you can put it anywhere you want. Man. I'm easy to get along with.
Would number 8 be okay?
put it in his agenda, agenda item eight.
No. Or put it under new business.
That's fine.
Okay, see, that I would make a motion to add as item C, the release of the erosion and sediment control bond for 1484171. And for new business item D, David, the application for a zoning permit for a deck on the Italian restaurant. Second.
Who seconded that? Motion by Joe Adaletta to add the erosion and sediment control release for the Woodstock Valley Store as agenda item C, in the new business, and agenda item D, the zoning permit for Mama Italia restaurant, seconded by Mark Blackman. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That so passes. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to agenda item number 6, new business. And item A, Woodstock Academy proposed sidewalk extension. David wants to introduce himself. Thank you, David. I'll open this up the camera. Give us some insight.
So I sent everyone a memo along with this explaining for the background of why we're being asked to look over this. It's a particular state statute that says if things in the right of way of the town are expanded, among other requirements, it requires a vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is actually kind of rare. It rarely does come up. So it's interesting that in one night we have 2 that fall under this. However, I included my thoughts on the Woodstock Academy project. It seems pretty simple in my view. And I believe we have a representative from Woodstock Academy on the project who's here to answer any questions the commission may have for them.
Joe?
I just wanted to understand, in the application, it says that about encroaching on the town right of way. Just curious what part of the sidewalk is the town right of way.
So it's because it's expanding the sidewalk that's already there. There's
Yeah.
already a sidewalk that's there, that's part of the town right of way, and so they're expanding on that.
Oh, all right, so the town right of way is
It's the sidewalk.
the sidewalk go.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? With that, I'll open it up to the Woodstock Academy representative, if you'd like to speak.
I'm happy to, I'm kind of here and with Gary and Batista, who is spearheading this. He couldn't be here. He was in contact with Dan. Dan here tonight. Hi, Dan. Meet you.
Just state your name for the record.
Oh,
Please.
yes, Aaron Hogarty.
Thank you, Aaron.
My title is facilities director.
Thank you.
So you guys all have a plan, so it was an existing parking lot, there's a sidewalk that wraps around Academy Road. Proposed sidewalk also in line. Question, sidewalk not gonna go to the Academy Road and part of the parking lot ever did in the past.
Perfect, thank you. Mr. Cheyenne.
Echo what a few people have mentioned that this is an existing or extension of it, existing sidewalk. It's almost a natural extension of this existing sidewalk. But because of 825, or was it 825 or 824? 825. The commission has to see this. But it is relatively straightforward. Note that it is an historic district and there's also reviewed by the Historic District Commission. I believe that might be happening later this month.
Yes.
Just a quick question on the driveway entrance to the parking lot, I'm in the shape in the sidewalk. The entrances.
Yeah.
Anyone else? What's the purpose of extending it past the parking lot? It looks like it goes past almost to the next property line. There will be, it's really going for.
The hope is my understanding that the hope is to go around that turn eventually and connect with sidewalk. Further down Academy Road.
I don't believe so. I think the simplest way to put it is currently, there was a parking lot there as long as any of us required. It got extremely disturbed during the renovation process of the academy. So in an effort to revamp the sidewalk to match the newly renovated building, rather than have just the sidewalk be at the same grade, just be completely flush with Academy Road, what's being proposed is that there will be a break in the sidewalk to allow cars to pull in, or for the sidewalk to act as basically a border for the park. Again, not on Academy Road at all. It would be where it would land where the existing sidewalk always ended, but just act as a border. Provide some curb appeal, some traffic control, so people want to try to pull in. There'd be a designated entrance exit.
I mean, if there's future plans to take it the rest of the academy, it makes sense to go past the parking lot. I just don't see a reason to extend it past the parking lot. Who's gonna walk down there? Like, where are they going? It just seems odd to continue the parking lot, the sidewalk past the parking lot. Doesn't really need it. Who's gonna be walking down there past the parking lot? Where are they gonna go?
I did it a few times back in the day. You know,
I think he answered that a little bit when he mentioned that it adds a distinct entry point, right? You want it on the other side as well to add a distinct entry point, so people aren't just pulling off, where the curb might be. If you have it continued on both sides, it creates a more solid barricade, but. just
More
how I-
traffic control idea
Yeah.
would be necessary for
That's how I
people
people,
want.
yeah.
for Aaron, do cars park like parallel in the area where the sidewalk would be going right now, like unwanted parking?
Yes. Yes, all the time, and we have bus pickup there, so that can create traffic. And I apologize, I didn't hear you, Gary, but I wasn't aware that you were talking about. If any of you know the area, there's a stone wall that separates Woodstock Academy's property with the adjacent property. I wasn't aware that it's being proposed that we extend it.
I think it was just a hypothetical,
Okay,
but he did mention that the sidewalk picks up again around the turn.
right. Yeah, which would. I would think that would be the town sidewalk. That's not our property ends, I can't find it. I heard it on the cemetery. House that's, you look at an aerial map, the property in the middle of, yeah. So. If we extended it, it would either be.
It definitely goes past the stone wall, or it looks like it does.
And I had spoke with Gary, the projection of the new sidewalk in front of the private property. Is probably nixed. I think, he had marked it out, diagonally. He did intend to leave a ramp at that location to taper that down, but I told him that extension past your property line into the right of way is probably not going to be approved.
Okay.
Because he'd be in effect putting the sidewalk in front of somebody else's private property.
Okay.
But I think that is a question that's gonna come up at the Historic District Commission. But otherwise, aside from that question, the rest of it's just a straightforward sidewalk extension. Probably for aesthetic and traffic control more than it is for logical sidewalk use.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you say that the extension that's kind of cross-hatched on the picture here is to be deleted? Or it's on a neighbor's property?
It was discussed as a concern and a possibility that it might not be allowed. It's a gray area because this is in the public right of way. The town highway foreman does have discretion on that. He endorsed his half of the driveway encroachment permit. But we still need, I think, clarity on is the sidewalk extension allowed to project past the plane of the property.
And where will that clarity come from?
I still think it's to be hashed out. It's not my call. But I think it rests with the highway foreman.
So should we table this until there's clarification on if it's allowable?
The problem with tabling it is it prolongs this, our August meeting on the 5th is for on the 1st. POCD. So we wouldn't be taking up this business at the next meeting. It would be the second meeting of August.
Another provision, sorry, I don't know if we can mention this. Another provision of that state statute is that we have 40 days to respond from initial application, and any non-response from us is an assumed acceptance from us. And I believe we're in 27 days from, currently it's the 27th to 26th day, if I remember correctly, of when we first were submitted this.
Not wanting to prolong it, but if we respond, if we need clarification, that's the response, correct? Automatically go over. We have to say yes or no.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I have to look into that.
If the commission voted strongly towards having that a condition, I think there's no reason to deny that. If you have this the omission of this sidewalk area be part of your acceptance of the project.
In the mindfulness of safety, I don't think having few extra feet of sidewalk is a bad thing. Obviously, there's no place to go and get to the end of it. But I don't see where it's a bad thing, and aesthetically, I think that it's probably more appealing than not, but
So it has to end somewhere.
eventually.
So.
Yep.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable place. I am a little bit confused about. This is on the town right of way, so why is there a problem with going over? Where the property is?
Is there?
I mean, it doesn't sound like there is.
I agree with your position. The question might be, does the person with private property want to lose their street parking?
Can't they park next to the sidewalk?
I think it's pretty tight in there.
Yeah, at that point, they would be. really good road. It's worth mentioning, Gary did tell me, he said, when you go to the meeting, please share that, Jason Scranton has fully enforced. Jason, yeah.
It's our highway.
He's the new John. And he's been on site, he's looked at the plans, he has no, his authority has.
Yeah, the concern is the extension of the sidewalk in front of the private residence. Jeff, can we just approve the sidewalk in front of the academy? Figuratively speaking, and or approval there, if and when the academy or the town wants to extend the sidewalk in front of the private residence, that's a second separate application that will address whenever it conforms.
Yeah, I believe this can be accepted conditionally.
Approval up to the property line. As a condition, or is that, I'm a little unclear about the cross-hatched area too, but if we just approve it. I don't think we can refer to this sketch map, it's not very clear, but. Approve the sidewalk in front of the academy's property. Period. What I would like to suggest.
And a revised drawing demonstrating what they come up with. It's just shortening. We had that projected past the property line.
Right.
That section scratched off. That section.
That's how it appears to me. Part of it.
But he did indicate for ADA wanting ramp there. But ultimately, the academy does come to possess that private property and want to extend the sidewalk to wrap around. You know, that's something for the future.
Is there enough of the sidewalk proper, like a ramp up to the property line?
So they're squeezing that entryway. Right now, it's a very wide entrance. Our internet's so bad. But there's a box above the sidewalk extension that's supposed to represent a planter.
Okay,
So the entrance to this parking area has been throttled in this proposal. It doesn't quite demonstrate so much on this markup. But that area where the planter is, that's still on the academy property, and where it'll rise up and then rise down.
right. So I guess theoretically, the ramp could go at that end. of the
Yeah, there's still
sidewalk.
room.
There's still, okay.
So I guess we could. Have it end at property line. That quells everyone's concern.
I guess my only concern is that they must have wanted to extend it for a particular reason. It'd be nice to know why they wanted to extend it.
I think to clean it up, it was mentioned that there was some, you could see evidence of, they had to dig over there. And I think after their most recent projects in that spot, that it needs a redress over there, and
So
the
maybe-
sidewalk could be a part of that.
So maybe landscaping could achieve the same objective.
I don't think necessarily, you want to pave that parking area?
I don't think we can pave it, based on. Asphalt being impervious. So the fall can be removed, or
So we were just mentioning that they want to throttle this entrance instead of being a 30, maybe a 30-foot wide entrance right now, to be one lane in, one lane out.
Right.
There's a rectangular section, above the sidewalk extension near the property line that they propose. A planter, some landscaping, but I think it's more than just this aesthetic. There's, fixing and controlling the parking situation at that location. And creating a little bit of order in an area where there's a bus stop.
But it looks like the entrance to the parking lot is what, 20 feet across in? And then there's a maybe it's like 30 feet extension to the side. One side.
I mean, I think
Woodstock
it's
Academy
very
property line is right along that stone wall, comes right there. So if they stop it there, it's not encroaching on the neighbor's property at all. They want to extend it almost until their driveway, it looks like, which would eliminate the parking in that area. So I guess probably the reason.
Well, it sounds like a good compromise, is just to the property.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, or?
I would need, I'm trying to think of the reason why they wanted to do it. What I think is there's remnants of old asphalt sidewalk that was there. That went all the way along the private residence. And connected down to the falling back. We do get a lot of student foot traffic. And they'll walk on Academy Road, they'll either leave the parking lot and come up to Bracken the bus or vice versa. So if you drive Academy Road, you'll see that there's, and then it transitions back to old, very concrete sidewalk behind the private residence. But I believe in that section that it's been proposed that we extend it beyond our property line. And it's probably in an effort to re-establish that site.
Personally, I think that it would make it look better there than like fine sidewalk. They assume a poured in place on like curb. I think that it would look better, and maybe the neighbors actually would feel the same way, and maybe they would want to follow it up. But with the bill of having the sidewalk extended, I'm sure the towns. Maybe at some point, but. If somebody wants to make a motion.
Nobody has an issue with extending the sidewalk. Maybe we just have a condition on checking with the residents. As long as the private resident is okay with it, then do we have any issue with it?
Not really, but. I mean, if we can word it that way, move it to, to go as the plan. But as long as the private residence isn't complaining about that, otherwise. It's only going to property.
That's a motion.
That's my motion.
I'll second that.
So,
if there's an existing paved sidewalk there and they're just replacing that paved sidewalk with a new sidewalk, I think we should include that. But if it is no sidewalk there, then I think the motion is perfect. But there's not too many places in town that should have sidewalks in the academy area.
absolutely.
But if there is a sidewalk there and you're just replacing, I think that should be allowed. I don't think we should make them come back to do that. But if it isn't, if it's not there, then have it end at the. And I have to tell you, well, it's the town's right away. It's got nothing to do with the home. The town is looking at the safety of the people that are there, and that's, it's not. The homeowner may not want it there. It's not their decision. It is right away. It's all about.
Well, I think it would be nice to get specific information.
And all I'm trying to
Obviously
do,
raising a lot. of questions.
yeah, I'm just getting, we had a highway foreman, the zoning officer, if they go out and determine there's some existing paved sidewalk there that we're gonna continue with. If it's not, they say, commission approve it to the real property.
Drainage sidewalk or this paved level.
You got an ADA requirements that you have to meet, and they're gonna create your zoning issues anyway. But I agree with you, if it's at grade, that's where the new issue is.
Well, still light up. You can actually take it 10 minutes to drive up there.
Google Street View shows. It does not look like there's the sidewalk, there.
Doesn't look like it.
Does not, think.
You want to amend the motion? Or just leave it?
You don't think it's there,
On the. I mean, it can go. As according to plan. As long as the homeowner doesn't object,
Otherwise, it's not.
otherwise it's off the property line.
Yeah.
It's in the 10-foot drive off the house. It's not right on the property.
Let's pick up.
This is where they putting in.
Or the sidewalk gonna come out here?
Yeah, sidewalk
Continue that.
and their property line ends really here. They want to then their driveway.
Uh,
Yeah, like it was, so it's hard to tell. Not, there's not a one there.
You can move the thing with the. Try to get rid of those.
There you go. Yeah, sidewalk is here.
All right,
So
so.
come down here. and stop, right?
Yeah.
Sidewalk.
Yeah. So,
So it's not like somebody's driving on something. There, right? Putting a ranking. Sidewalk.
Yeah, right, hang on.
property.
Everyone. This is what we're talking about.
100%, okay, no.
So this is in front of the.
It's very good.
Right.
I think these folks.
Right away.
yeah, it's up there now.
Within.
Yeah.
It's so tough to tell, you have to meet debris.
Right.
Plow and 1,000 times, that's where the existing sidewalk. Pick it up, but they get. Yes,
You know, fun, we're ready to see what you're doing.
yeah.
The part tells the story.
So. Here. I believe there was a sidewalk. It's really tough to tell in this picture. Old asphalt that's so far deteriorated. Somewhere. Their driveway entrance is here. Soon they. Because. We get academy staff, students sometimes. When these trash cans are there, sometimes we'll have 2 or 3 cars parked here. Not residents of this house. I don't know how we haven't got called from about my house. Still. So if we extended the sidewalk to there, town right away. I think it's a win-win. I mean, I'm happy to approach the private residents and say. Does this excite you? You know, would you be happy about this? Would it drive you crazy? For the office, what would that look like? Do I go knock on his door or send them a letter.
Need it. If you look at that plan, if you look at that photo, it makes sense to extend that sidewalk right to their driveway.
I agree.
Just,
Really, be a visual there, people parking there.
We have like,
take off the street, too.
I wasn't sure if it was always one, if you're driving on the bit, it's almost, no, it's, you need the sidewalk to go all the way.
when students make the trek from the back parking lot up to bus pickup, they're good for walking. So that would be a huge safety benefit, doing that, designated. Right on the other side of his driveway, there's an old, but there isn't this concrete sidewalk that connects from here all the way to the back. Right, yep, can you go back? Yep, sidewalk starts right there. And it's old, but it's there. So, I mean, it would be nice to have, they would still have to either cross the end of their driveway or.
That happens, then he's trying to say.
Regarding the, especially what, might be helpful to get something in writing, whether it's just a simple change of emails. Not a formal letter, but just sort of something for the record that we in the district commission go back to.
Absolutely.
But I think the issue of verbal might be
From
a good way to go.
WA representative to the private homeowner. I mean, telling them that this is going to be taking place.
That's what I send lots of those letters. You just say, if you have any questions, please let the town know.
Yeah.
Don't ask for permission, but ask if they have questions. And here's the people to call.
And that makes perfect.
That's a good neighbor.
Great.
So would everyone like to hear the motion? Mark Blackmer made a motion to approve the application for sidewalk expansion as presented, including any proposed improvements to any existing sidewalk on Academy Road.
What the contact is.
Yeah.
Notifying the neighbor, the abutter.
Pending notification of the above.
For a second.
John.
second it.
So, John, yeah.
Yep. I still have one question. I thought we said there is no sidewalk there. And the motion says extending onto all sidewalks. Is that-
Any, so you don't know if there is, but if there is any, you guys are okay with that work, is that the motion?
So the sidewalk can't be extended if we can't find any evidence of sidewalk there. Is that?
That's what you guys have decided.
Ready to do that?
Or, the motion that says as the application presented is showing who
So logically, that sidewalk that is right over there must have gone further than that. Yep, I believe the area where the bins are had to have been sidewalk at some point in history, probably pulled up in the course of some road work or completely turned to dust from years of people parking haphazardly on it.
It's more likely that the road got expanded and widened, as many Woodstock roads have done over the years. So like old property where you used to go down steps, you could mow the lawn and then hit the road, and now the road comes right up to the wall. So that could have been a sidewalk, but the road just got widened and widened, widened right up to it.
Right, okay, so I'm happy with the motion. Okay, yeah. As it stands.
Now we know why Doug never comes. He's not coming back for a while.
Amy, for the record, would you please read it again?
Mark Blackmer made a motion to approve the application for sidewalk expansion as presented, including any proposed improvements to any existing sidewalk on Academy Road pending the notification of the abutter. So that's saying, I didn't look at it, but they're saying there's a section beyond the parking lot, right, that you, it's not the whole thing on the plan, what you presented, it's just a section that goes beyond. So this is saying, if that sidewalk was there, that section beyond was approved and not.
Not saying you have to fix it, but if you want to take it upon yourself. Notify Dan, we're gonna fix this other piece too, it doesn't have to come back to us with that. Everybody good with that? Seconded by John Day, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's what passes. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. So you should put your dirt on your face and say, Gary, this is what they did.
No, I apologize. I would felt so bad. I showed up filthy. I had to do emergency brake line repair. My span. So I never got home to shower and change. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Stu. Agenda item 6, item B. The town of Woodstock County Road overview. Again, I'll give the floor to our esteemed colleague, Cameron James. From the NEPOG.
Correct. This is, again, the same Connecticut state statute requires us to do this, the exact same premise. This is a utility outlet as being a culvert. So from my understanding of the project, I included this in the memo. The highway 169 that runs perpendicular to this road already has these culverts existing. The exact same culverts already exist on that road. And when they did that, the people who did it, which I believe the state had done, advised the town to put those same culverts on this road. So that is just what the town is doing what the state had advised them to do when they put in the original culverts on Route 169. That's as far as I understand that plan. I know that the Wetlands Commission recently looked over this and voted on it. I believe they accepted it with conditions. Is that correct, Dan?
Yeah, but they accepted with their straightforward conditions. They have a number of conditions, referencing that it has to be noticed in a periodical, following the decision for 15 days, that there's a field period. The permit's valid for 5 years. If it's close to expiration and they'd like to renew it, that's a possibility. That if this project requires additional approvals outside of the Wetlands Commission, if it does, that their approval is contingent on other approvals. And 2 other typical, to contact the land use office before the start of any regulated activity. And the erosion and sediment controls are required to be installed prior to work.
I'm very familiar with this. It's terribly narrow where it is now. I mean, I've gone up there with equipment and I can barely fit equipment across there. Never mind meeting somebody coming around the corner or something. And when they put those other culverts in, those are, you know, watch that going. It's a much needed movement on that road. And it's, you look at the exit time, it doesn't, the whole roads are just gonna wash off on this thing. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the county road culvert committed by the town of Woodstock. I agree, it's a dangerous situation. Roads already, the side of the road is already flat. It needs to be done. It should have been done years ago.
I'll second that.
Joey, you had a comment?
Comments, yeah, I have a few comments. I've reviewed the methodology that the DOT used for their hydrology and hydraulics. And the sizing of the culvert. And I have no issues with it, because they used the TR20 method in particular, which I used for 38 years with the federal agency
Speaking
that
of
I
that, Joe,
retired from.
would you just state your qualifications for the record?
I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. Worked for the federal government as an engineer for 38 years. 2 years with the Corps of Engineers, 38 years with the U.S. Soil Conservation Service. And then 20 years of private consulting.
Thank you.
So I don't have any issues with their hydrology methodology. And especially since there's very little additional drainage area being contributed between where the DOT culvert is and where the town culvert is going to be. So using that same amount of runoff is fine with me. I have in the past disagreed with DOT's use of their rational method, which fortunately they did not use on this culvert. Because I think that quite often results in too small culverts, especially for small drainage areas. But anyway, the methods they used seems to be okay. I do have one issue though about and I'm still gonna vote in the affirmative. Okay. But I do have one issue about the placement of natural substrate stream bed materials inside the culvert. And Dan, do you know why that's being done? Is that for fisheries or?
Wasn't brought up in the wetlands review, but that would be my assumption.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, what's gonna happen is the first time there's a significant runoff event, that's gonna get flushed out of the bottom of the culvert. And it's gonna fill up the basin, the stilling basin on the downstream side of the culvert. It used to be that the fisheries required a U-shaped channel with natural stream on the bottom. I'm not in favor of that either. But I think it's a bunch of overkill to put that natural substrate material in the bottom of a reinforced concrete culvert. Projects that I've worked on instead, I called for the concrete precast outfit to put a V in the bottom of the concrete in the culvert. And the fish can go up through that, no problem. But I think the substrate's just gonna get washed out. That's my opinion. That's basically it. I agree that the road should be widened. I think it is too narrow there. It is supposed to pass the 100-year up to a 500-year storm, so. Go for it. Are we gonna do that work ourselves or are we gonna contract it out?
I think there's been some unfortunate news in the cost of the project from when it was first bid. What projected to be now that this project might not even. It'll probably cost twice as much. We're finally able to do it. There was pessimism. I don't know how, if that becomes reality necessarily. But I know the cost of the project is increased.
I heard that they're gonna have shovels outside for us when we have the meeting today, so.
Volunteers.
This packet from J&D is dated May 2024, and the cost has risen since then? Or is this only?
This is for engineering services. So
J&D is engineering services?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Yeah. Yep. I realize the road needs some work, culvert needs to be replaced. I certainly don't doubt the calculations that Joe went through, but I'm really not in favor of widening the road. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's just an add-on, kind of like while we're there fixing the bridge, let's make it wider. Somewhere in, if I can find it. I think it was in the wetlands application. They mentioned that they're going to also add on each side another foot of a berm, so I think now the pavement goes from 21.7 not to 24, but to 26. I don't see a need to have that road carry a lot of trucks, heavy traffic. The J&D said that, you know, something like clearly there's a problem for truck traffic, but here she doesn't back that up with anything. I think it's mostly a cut through from 169 to Woodstock Road. It's just a residential area. I'm not aware of any businesses on that section of road. A truck really wants to make that connection, they would simply go a little further north on 169 and utilize that wide, open, sweeping intersection to move any heavy equipment through there. My experience there is that, yeah, it's a little snug, but you need to slow down a little bit. And as either you're making the turn from 169 on the county road or crossing county road going the other way, slower the better. My experience is when you widen roads, people tend to drive faster, and that's when it becomes a more dangerous situation. So again, I don't think the widening is integral to the bridge safety. I propose improving it without the widening. Let's go one more thing. The consultant relied somewhat heavily on the hydraulic analysis report that Joe referred to. And in it, they mentioned on the second page that the proposed design incorporates DEEP fisheries recommendations, follows the Army Corps of Engineers stream crossing guidance. I don't know if the consultant kind of cherry picked this report and used what they wanted, or whether they're complying with those two agencies' guidance, but I think it should at least be addressed that they did or they didn't, and if not, I would like to suggest that they did. Thank you.
You said you want to make a friendly amendment?
I would.
How wide do you want to leave the road?
Existing with 21.7.
Friendly amendment to accepting the application as presented by Sidlod to keep the road the current existing width.
That's the paved width, right? So
Pavement, yes, yeah, educated.
I have no trouble. with that. It's not paved, the width of the road is it's the shoulders that need to be taken care of. And the drainage, so you have to keep the road. I accept that.
It's not a place where people go fast, because you're right coming up to the stop sign, and I've just driven. There's enough tractors, farm equipment, and trucks, but I mean, I've driven my truck down there, if you meet another truck. There's not. I mean, you have to go slow, but there's just not that much room, and you can't, it's hard to make the cut from 169 onto that road.
Somebody's at the stop bar.
Somebody stop by, but I mean, and that's, I mean, I think we should let them widen it, that's my opinion. I've driven, if you're driving a small car, it's not an issue. If you're driving a truck, a fuel truck, or even you know, a big pickup. Got a flatbed truck, it's tough going through there.
I agree with David, I was coming from Woodstock Road at the stop sign. But coming on 169 was a pickup, it was lawn care people pulling their trailer with the lawn. They can't make the corner, so they had to stop because I'm here, traffic coming, 169 is all backed up. Because, you know. Not confusing for a second because this other truck couldn't make the swing because that is a narrow intersection.
There are other pinch points in town, you know, what do I want to call it? Crooked Bridge over Muddy Brook at Rosen Park, I think is an example of. It slows people, maybe it was designed that way, maybe it wasn't, but it does slow people down. And there are just plenty of examples of traffic light in town, stop sign, yield signs that are intended to slow people down. Approach dangerous intersections cautiously and not blow through them, drive too fast. And I just think this is one of those that, you know, if it's a regular trucker going through there, I think he's going to continue north on 169, then turn east on Woodstock Road instead. It's a very wide turn, anybody can make that. And save a minute going down Woodstock Road, that short residential area. I just don't see the benefit of that.
I'm not even talking about having a room for tractor trailer trucks. I'm just talking about regular traffic. I mean, we drive farm equipment, you drive trucks. I mean, you're not turning, you're not using the cut, you're going up county road. There's farmland up there, there's stuff to go. You're not just using it. I mean, I see a lot of traffic just coming down county road to get to Woodstock. And it's a tough, I think we should let them widen it out. It's not a high speed area. There's no, it's not like you're going 25, 30 miles an hour because you're coming up to a stop sign and you don't have any room to get from the other side, people to go fast. People aren't blowing through the stop sign on 169. I just think in the interest of safety that we should just keep it wide.
They're not wide, are they widening the whole road that full length, or just at this, where they're doing the culvert?
Right at above this culvert.
So they're not gonna
So
walk
we-
the intersection.
So so it's just a safety thing, so you can make the swing there, you're not making it a racetrack for the entire road.
You're not
And
gonna
nobody's
widen it,
racing,
widen it.
speeding at a stop sign.
So one relevant problem is that you take a left-hand turn onto 169 from Woodstock Road, visibility is horrible. And cars are coming flying down. And it's super difficult. So essentially, it'll make it really difficult if traffic is sort of pushed that way. Somebody take a left-hand turn and then go right on County as a way to avoid that road. So Sid, I agree with everything you're saying, except that I think using Woodstock Road as a alternative is not really. And we're not talking about a huge, giant expansion of the road.
Right. I agree. It's incremental, like the other Gravelly Brook Bridge that was replaced on 169, which I thought was significant. And I don't have anything to say. People are driving faster now, heading north or south on 169. But when the road is visually wide open, I think people lay on the gas, and that I think in turn makes this intersection that we're talking about even more dangerous. People are even going faster now, particularly heading north on 169 and down the grade. They want to stop.
So I agree 169 is a built up. If this is just before the stop sign. It's not really the same kind of issue, because cars will have to be slowing coming up to the stop sign. So, widening it right in the stop sign doesn't have the same limitations.
Are they widening it at the intersection or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are.
And they're widening it 1 foot on for each lane.
You can see the difference between the current and proposed on page sheet C2 and C3. Site plan. It doesn't appear to be widening at stop bar or in the right of way at 169. This widening appears to mostly be above the culvert replacement location. And to 40 feet on the northern side, on each side of the culvert replacement.
It does seem like a relatively short segment. That we're talking about, why?
I strongly think we should we should allow the plans as presented. Not restrict, keep the width restricted there. It's not. It's 150 feet, that's really narrow, that would be wide. I mean, I don't, it's a short section of road.
Now it's basically being tapered from 12. Half the lane from 10 foot to 12. So basically the pavement's being widened from 20 feet to 24 foot maximum.
Yeah, and what I thought they said it was 21.7, so it's really only.
Joe, does that include the 1 foot berms on either side of the road?
Yeah, that 24 feet includes the curb.
Yeah, that includes the berms. Yes.
Yeah, and then fine. No, that's all right.
Can we see it up there? Is that a little easier to read?
I agree, there's, some heavy equipment occasionally going through town, whether it's agriculture, Rogers, whatever, but the other 95% of the traffic in town are people in small to modest-sized cars that like to step on it, and if they're approaching 169, and now they've got a significantly wider roadway, if somebody's coming toward them, to me, that's an unsafe situation.
I think the safety issue is the narrowness of the road. I think that this plan is what we should do. It's not a long stretch. It's not a place where you're gonna just zap up to you're not gonna go, you're coming up, it's a twisty road. You're coming up over that hill, which is also narrow. And I just think you're coming up to a stop sign. I think that we should let them widen it to the proposed plan.
I do believe as well, if they are just widening it at where the culvert is, it may be to allow the culvert to fit better with the road. I don't imagine that they're just expanding that section of the road for no purpose, if it doesn't. So I agree with that.
My comments are just about practicality. We have a plan that probably took a while to get to. I have experienced what Mark's experienced at that intersection. I don't go that way unless I have to go down that road across the street. But it did take a while to get to this plan. One of our wetlands ops members, Marla Butts, worked a lot of back and forth, and visited the site many times with J&D to point out things that aren't at the roadway, but that were incorporated into this plan. I don't see how is it on each, in addition to each lane.
It's going from 21.7 from what you say to 24. So that's 2 feet 5 inches. So that's like a little over a foot on each travel.
It might not be discernible to many people that a widening occurred. But I'm with Dave that there is, and Mark, that there's sometimes this potential for something sketchy to happen at that stop bar. Either somebody taking a left turn out of there or taking a right turn out of there onto 169. You're hoping somebody isn't going to turn in on you when you're trying to exit County Road. But that chiefly, we've had this this plan here. It's a solid plan. I don't think it disrupts too much of what we're looking for. There's always going to be safety. Safety is gonna be in the back of somebody's mind when approaching this stop bar. I don't think widening at the culvert's gonna change that scenario, to allow for more, faster driving in that short stretch.
I think the main thing is, that as you come up to that stop sign, fear of 165.
Yeah.
Is in everybody's mind. So most people who come up to that stop sign proceeding fairly careful.
I'm sympathetic to comments from Sid about trying to avoid widening things, and I like the example of a good bridge over by Finals Farm. That's a good example of traffic calming, whether it's intentional or unintentional. But I think at this point, because it is just coming up to a stop sign, it is a pretty narrow spot there. The way it's drawn here, I think is appropriate for that particular traffic condition. Wouldn't recommend doing this all over the town, particularly if it's a culvert going under a straight section of road that somebody wants to widen that straight section, because I think that concern about higher speed traffic is legitimate. But I think in this particular case, but it's coming to a stop sign and it's relatively short distance, that it's appropriate. I don't see anything on here what they're replacing as guardrail. I see the note saying they're taking decision out, which makes sense, but trying to read through this to see if they talk about putting in new guardrails. Just to make sure that that's somewhere in the plan.
Yeah, it shows it on sheet C5.
C5.
They show metal beam rail on the left-hand side of that cross-section of the road. Not on the
Upper left
plan
corner.
here, but it's,
Yeah, there is a guardrail depicted on the crossing.
yeah,
But is
On
that
both
the
sides.
existing section?
yeah, it's on both sides.
And the RB 350 metal beam rail. Do you want?
Oh,
You want C5? Yeah, but doesn't that say existing section? AA? Not the new one.
Oh, it does say existing, you're right. But the one just below that.
Okay.
It shows it on one side, but not the other.
So on sheet C6, there's a drawing longitudinal section of the center line of the culvert that also demonstrates these guardrails. If we call RB
On both sides,
350 metal
yeah.
beam,
Okay.
and there is should be a
I don't know why. It's
Should be on the plan, I think it is.
Hey, Joe, do you see on drawing C7? Typical culvert unit section, they show a V shape and the natural streamline material.
I think that's like a fisheries wildlife.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
He's
Just
just
V
not-
shape and that. Shows.
Back to our motion.
Yeah, based on my feeling from the discussion, I'd like to withdraw my friendly amendment. I don't think we're going in that direction, so maybe we'll just make it a little bit easier to vote on.
So you're saying you're withdrawing your friendly amendment?
Good win.
So, motion by Doug Porter, seconded by David Morse to accept the permit as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you, Sid. That will pass and go. That brings us to item 6. C. Stock Valley Store. Release of the erosion and sediment control bond. I will turn this over to zoning enforcement officer Dan Malo.
So I've been following the progress on the grass there for a while. Took some pictures that I've shared with the commission on the table. The grass is established, it's had a couple mows, and it looks pretty good. But I'm wondering how everybody feels about this and what more they might be expecting. And because this is a very complex project here, a little over my head. It was the highest bond that's been determined. And I don't really have a breakout of how that price got so high. Because I think if you're measuring disturbance of seeded area, it wouldn't get so high, but it might be more awareness on this commission of what the expectations were for the erosion and sediment control. But I believe the grass looks great, and if we're looking at a more technical look at the basins and other structures, that's a little outside of my wheelhouse. I wouldn't want to incur costs for the country store and utilizing our engineering services, but there might be some technical parts that I would need assistance with if you wanted more there.
Do you know if at some point design professionals were there during the construction or post-construction review of as completed project versus?
From my understanding, what I've seen here is not during the duration of the project, but they did offer a lot of comments to get to where the commission was able to approve a plan. There has been turnover in the office since, so I don't have any evidence of follow-up from that. The bond was a condition of the special permit approval. John Gaskowski applied that to them, and I think it was January of this year. There was some areas that hadn't taken seed yet, but everything's kind of filled out a bit and it's had a couple mowings. If additional work is needed, I believe Maharishi might would need a partial release of the bond to conduct that work. But I leave it to the commission's memory to kind of help me along with what the expectations were with that bond.
One of these pictures, does one of these pictures show what's supposed to be a rain garden? Is that part of the stormwater management plan? Kind of looks like a little valley.
Yeah, there's a retention pond there.
And is there some provision for maintenance of that? I'm certainly fine releasing most of the bond. Holding back a little bit until any questions. Okay. may have been provisions for maintaining or retention.
It's called a basin on this, grading and erosion soil plan. It's fed by PVC, it looks like in a couple locations, with, riprap aprons. So it's supposed to act as a basin. It was dry, I mean, it vegetated. It was dry every time I've looked at it. I don't quite know if it ever accumulates.
Can you tell on the drawing, was it supposed to be planted with water absorbing vegetation, or what you can do for rain garden, ready maintenance plan or annual?
The recommended seed mixtures, it's tough for me to know what would have went in there. I'm not a floriculture. I mean, there's a lot to pick through here, and it's not really I mean, not to pick on whoever maintained the file before me, but it's not really any rhyme or reason to the order, or I was looking for a summary maybe of what the commission discussed, or a breakout of how that became a $13,800 bond. Most of the ones that we issued for new construction fall in the 1, 2, 3,000. It's just not $13,000 of grass seed.
Well, I think you're gonna find the 13,000 covers the retention fund, the construction retention fund is part of that. If that is the.
Okay.
It's not just the grass. The retention area has been built. Do you know if you received an as-built for the site?
I have not, and that's another reason why I don't know if you want to work with a consultant to do that final review of this. This is the final approved plan that I don't know if this is necessarily the as built. This was 2021. Early 2021.
There was no condition in the original approval for an as-built and the project was.
Yes. For one of the approvals, please provide final plans with the addition of the approval details on the plan. Final approval, those plans became Mylars, I believe.
That's part of the approval. That's not after the construction.
And I just wanted to make note of this too, before I go back to looking for that. I'm sure an as-built was required.
Should require an as-built also, in your final zoning sign off, did you get an as-built of the building?
I haven't gotten anything, so I'm at a loss how to proceed here. I mean, I'm dumb on this. This is pretty extensive and it's something that I inherited, and I don't have any kind of precedent in my experience for reviewing something to button up a project like this.
Because this was such a big project, I think for the town, and we did engage design professionals to review the original drawings, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of design professional comments in here that were incorporated into this plan.
I'd be inclined to get a quote from them, from design professionals, through see what it would cost to have them do a review of the finished project.
Okay.
As opposed to trying to leave you figuring it out and the commission spent a lot of time with this. Just want to make sure it was finally done, finalized in a way.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion.
But this is just for sediment and erosion, it's not a review of the whole.
But there's structures associated with the sediment.
But this doesn't include, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not a review of the whole plan, this is just erosion and sediment in the grass park.
Yeah,
So
there,
You can't take money out of that to have him check the building, no?
No, but the applicant can be charged. I mean, that's part.
Yeah, but I
permit.
but the focus of this has to be on the erosion, sediment and erosion control.
No, we
not
don't
the-
know that is in compliance, but
Well, no, I mean, I just want to make sure that I agree with what you're saying, I just want to make sure it's just for sediment and erosion, because that's all this bond is.
understood. But I think the whole permit and project needs to have its final drawings or as-built type of review,
Okay,
which is separate than.
it's a separate issue.
But also, I think there's two issues. One is the erosion sediment control, which is probably fairly straightforward. But then it was, the original approval require an as-built to the entire project.
Yes, I understand that, I just wondered, but is that,
We can tie it into the erosion sediment control, because you don't need $13,000 for that. I wouldn't release it all.
Okay.
Get that yet, that is built. And it's not up to the design professionals to prove that it was done correctly, it's up to the applicant to prove it. And then it's very simple for design professionals or anyone to review that as-built against what was proposed. Because the as-built will show you any variances from the plans proposed.
I just, yeah, there are two issues. But can we hold back sediment and erosion control?
So we
For
could
that.
release like $10,000.
Yeah.
Something like that, hold back 38 towards the erosion and sediment control concerns. Portion of the.
So one note that made it onto the front of approval, one of Delia's comments, the final comment on this, the CEO and the town's consulting engineer will need to do an inspection of the site as needed to ensure compliance with the approval prior to the bond release, whether in part or in whole. And also for the certificate of zoning compliance and lastly, the certificate of occupancy. So I'm not aware that we've worked with design professionals since the approval. And we've had a few people in the office in this position.
Well, we can always check, you can always check with design professionals, to see if they have a record of that.
Yeah,
Signing.
yeah. That'll be part of my ask for quote.
Yep.
What's the scope of this quote? I think review of.
Yes, I'll let you in. How do you review approved drawing versus an as-built project?
I think we need to start with an as-built from the applicant to build it first. And to give my professional something to review.
But also the two separate issue factor.
You can lock them together real quick by saying you can't approve the erosion and sediment control system until you know what was actually built. Because as you say, you're just going out and seeing that the grass is going. You don't know that the drainage inverts are correct, so that the water is going to stay in there and settle out as planned, and that it will allow it to be released in a timely fashion as used.
Now, there are two major plans that had to be conducted, and one's the E&S plan, and the other one's the stormwater management plan. So the bond may be larger than just E&S because they also took into account conformance for the stormwater management plan. And the stormwater management plan is the one that has the structures, the size of the detention basin, the riprap at the outlet, the inlet structure, all the piping, all of that stuff would have been included.
In the E&S
And that's
plan.
what, in the quote, ENS bond. So that's why it's so large. So definitely we need as-built drawings. And that should have been done by the builder.
I'd be interested to know how zoning was signed off without an as-built. I can't get a house zoning approval without an as-built.
That's correct.
So how did this project get approved without it?
I didn't sign anything off, so.
Which is fine,
Yeah.
life goes on, but now we just haven't cracked it, and guess.
And the first step might be to go to the builder. Because,
Yeah.
As the builder, what are your as-built drawings?
So I was told to reach out to Dan Flynn. I don't know if Dan Flynn wound up being the builder. But he did have some knowledge of this project and he kind of washed his hands with it. So I didn't ask him about an as-built. I'd asked him about particular areas where I was having trouble telling Maharishi of where I needed more seed. And he's like, it's been seeded, it's done. But, you know, I don't know what more you want. I think might have
Who is
been.
the engineer on that?
Comes in New Jersey, well, they have an office in South.
Burton Engineering.
It's a one-person office.
Mr. Peichel, Stephen Peichel.
He's not the one person there, so. It's the fire marshal from the company. That's the only one left.
So then maybe design professional is a good place to ask if they had as-built. Or they wouldn't have the drawings if they signed off or if they were.
I see your point. We need the as-built for all the stormwater drainage and stuff.
You okay, you're giving them half back, $6,000 back. Sounds like we need some.
I don't think it's gonna cost them $6,000 to do that. It'll cost them 3 to 5.
Give him some money so that he can pay
Yeah.
an engineer to come up with as-built.
Yeah, it's what, I think it's money well spent.
Yeah,
I think the erosions, the area is stable. I don't think it's you're not feeling any issues with the stabilization.
No,
Now it's just documenting that we're done.
So I make a motion that we allow the ZEO to authorize $7,000 release on the bond to the applicant. Hold the balance in reserve pending the review of as-built drawings.
I'll second that.
Motion by Joe Adelaide, seconded by Joe Palula. You have it all in. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That so passes. We'll take up more next month. That brings us to in the item 6B, the deck at Mama Italic. Or anyone want to speak to this?
so outdoor dining is allowed as a right, but as the commercial structure, the commission wanted to receive a zoning permit and review that zoning permit for this deck that will have some of the outdoor dining. Property owner Chris Penoyer stopped by yesterday, late in the day, and said that him and the owner of Mama Natalia were out at the Vanilla Bean, and they really wanted to get cracking on this outdoor dining. And he came by the office and hoped to get on the meeting with the commission to discuss this. And we have a zoning plan or a permit application. Layout of the parking lot on the following page. So you might see towards the left-hand side of the page, 2 circles and then 2 circles below it. Immediately below that, that is the proposed deck. And then the next page features it almost looking from ground level and towards the west side of the building. The east side of the building.
From what I could tell you, the same drawings that they had submitted, or similar drawings at least to the ones they had submitted earlier, prior to them filling out the actual application. At that meeting, we had, the general consensus was that it looked good so long as they submitted the actual application with it. And so that is what they've sent them.
I know they've already been working with the building official. The building official gave them a nice list of things that would be needed for code. And I believe a lot of the heavy lifting on this one is going to be in that department for the design of this. But this falls immediately behind the building and within the current existing building lines.
So the building official will get a drawing from a structural point of view for safety and the load on it for outdoor dining, all of that stuff.
I can't speak for them. I don't know what goes into review of a deck, but I know the building official had a printed out list of items, sort of a punch list for his design. I'm not familiar with cross brackets and I don't know what does what. But that I don't believe there's any design criteria in the statute that allow related to outdoor dining, except that it's separated physically from the parking area. And the rest is up to the building official to review it within under his code.
International building code is not his thing.
Yeah.
And it's, Bill has some issues with the drawing. And we have a very good, thorough building official, he'll make sure it's safe.
Take it up.
That's outside of our jurisdiction. We'll make sure. And there's a lot of concerns with decks because there have been. Clearly it's something that I want to make sure is not.
Will we accept the application for a zoning permit for the deck on the Italia as presented?
Second.
By Commissioner Adelaide, seconded by Commissioner Moore to accept the application. For the deck zoning permit and Mama Natalia, is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed?
Is it okay to include in the minutes that the building official will be reviewing the design? Thank you.
That so passes, thank you all. Moving right along to agenda item 7, review of home occupation permit application. There are 2, one from Paul Broder, home office of welding service, and also Michael and Kathy Bartlett, assembling fishing lures for wholesale and online sales.
He came in while I was on vacation, so I'm looking at him for the first time with you. But I don't see, really any, issues with these. No heavy equipment is proposed on site, no, radical, business hours. Increase in noise, such, no proposed signs. No street parking, no non-resident employees.
Questions or comments from anyone? Moving right along, brings us to agenda item 8, non-residential zoning permit.
We did just discuss the deck, which would have fell under this, agenda item. If we hadn't added it during the course of the meeting. But otherwise, we have, no new non-residential zoning permit applications.
Delia, I believe, had a survey pretty close to being done that she's gonna leave here in the town hall and also at the libraries, and she said she left it at Sweet Evelina's before. So maybe she'll leave it at the trading post as well. Do you have any other ideas? We'll leave it. No, I really don't. Maybe Mom would tell you. So. About that, and that survey is about the plan of conservation and development. Oh, we're gonna discuss that in our August 1st meeting. Agenda item 10, the CEO reports.
Starting with, the office, the zoning board of appeals wanted to thank, the commission and Delia for the updated, regulations. They've been going through, they've been meeting every month, atypically, to work on, their bylaws, revisions to their application, a fact sheet, a checklist, acquainting new members with Robert's rules. So they haven't had, application for variance or appeal of DMV locations, but they've been working on, acquainting their new members and getting all their procedural stuff. They've met every month so far this year to conduct that, and they will be, we're wrapping up, completion of their new member packet, which includes all the forms and the the code, the statute citations, their authority. I believe we have 3 new members on that commission, and turn over the previous chair and vice chair who were on there for a long time. But they appreciate, fresh zoning regs that Delia was able to provide, and are looking to understand what their responsibilities are better and familiarize themselves with their procedures. Tracy was out of the office one day while I was gone. She was out of the office today using some time. So it's been a challenge to put together this all the packets. But there's been heavy volume, and I came back Monday night for the ZBA meeting, and I was in the office on Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. And I think I counted 50 emails sent in the last 3 days. Someone, I'll always align at the door when somebody comes in, the phone rings. You go on vacation and there's a lot of work to come back to. And but I think we've effectively triaged it, and just hitting the tasks and responding to the inquiries. Some of them are pretty intensive with research. There's been a lot of inspections. requests for COs, so I've been out a few times measuring areas of disturbance, to calculate ENS bonds that aren't gonna necessarily make it into this permit list and bond report. This activity on the permit list reflect what was done last month. So I left on the 3rd, got back on the 15th. So this permit list here reflects June's activity. I haven't had to administratively approve any permits since I've been back. But the next report that you get, the next time we meet and discuss this kind of business, would be a report for June activity. So some of the activity, Mr. Adaletta had a Grape Arbor. We were kind of wondering what way to go on this type of structure, but erring on the side of caution, we decided to go for a permit. Has it been installed? No.
I hope you're doing this for an as-built.
Erosion sediment control bond?
Yeah. Some decks, sheds, pool houses, one particular applicant was working on a number of projects outside related to their pool and replacement of their decks. Couple pools. Mama Italia presented a Department of Consumer Protection form for their liquor license, which I endorsed. They also had a sign application. I think we saw that last month. I endorsed that. Graphics Unlimited at the Full Bank building, the intersection of near the intersection of 169 and 171. They installed a new sign. They had originally came to the office proposing a sign in the state right of way. And we walking back from that design. They would have required a lease with the state to put it where they wanted to. They found a sliver of piece along that roadway where that was on their property, and that's where they located that sign.
Who's or Nat?
Bedrock Insurance.
Bell Rock.
Bell Rock. At the CR property.
Oh, that way, okay, yeah, yeah.
Here for the garden. There was one addition on 7 Pond View that had gone before the Wetlands Commission also. Same with an underground propane tank. First Selectman had a project on Bungie Hill with 100,000 gallon underground propane tank that had to go through Wetlands Commission that also needed zoning approval. Because our regs reference above ground and underground. Some enforcement activities. I get a lot of inquiries, a lot of things are not actionable. And this really was one of them. And for 379 Doug Hill, Mr. Wooten has I think a car restoration business over there that had special permitting. He had tenants in his space and it was a disgruntled tenant. Just, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this. And it wasn't really the case. But he did have
Tenants, like somebody renting a building or somebody.
renting I think a stall.
Oh, okay.
It is
Doesn't approved use.
he didn't get into much detail, so I don't know their arrangement necessarily, but he referenced it as a tenant. You dig deeper,
Does he have people living there?
no, I think this is like a barn. That's
Oh, I know, I'm very, like, down those.
No, I think this is maybe someone who's using shop space,
I have heard that he.
living there.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I don't know if it's.
Everything in the building.
Yeah, I didn't hear that in any of the complaints.
If, Dan, it might be worth looking, if you can, into the special permit. For what was allowed.
Okay.
Recollections are that there was not to be any outside storage. Or you weren't not supposed to be able to see any vehicle from Dougville Road.
I haven't seen any vehicles from Doug Road. I feel like everything goes, it goes downhill.
All those trailers.
Okay.
All those trailers, but I've seen some cars on the side of the building.
Okay.
Just parked there. Not only cars. Cars needed it there. I think at one point, he said, you remember you saying he was gonna take down the house that was falling down? Seemed to
That
be a
was
lot
the
of talk
original
about
permit,
cleaning
they were
up
supposed to
those
take that
Yeah.
down, that barn.
So the scope of activities permitted under the special permit.
yeah.
I believe there's somebody.
I heard that there was
Yeah.
one time. That's the problem. We just had suspicion.
I'll find a way to talk about it.
Yeah.
Mr. Toutant, I spoke with Mr. Toutant and encouraged him to hire engineer to study that slope and find a way to get it towards compliance. He's gonna have me out, that he's got a wetlands matter that he wants to go through the commission, so I've been out there. I've been invited out there so many times. But I'll make it safe. I'll make it safe. I know, you need to know that this, there's calculations behind this and that, you know, it meets the standard that, is required in the regulation. So I encouraged him to work with an engineer. I don't know who he's hired yet, but, I did send a notice of voluntary compliance, which is the first step in the paperwork, for the violation. And I'm hoping, the next time that I talk to him, that he's got a name for me of who he's working with and puts me in contact with them so I could work more directly with them to address the concerns. There was a hole on, English Neighborhood Road. There's a made for a septic system. And it was not perking adequately.
I thought it was a pool.
Yeah, they have to raise that up over there, and so they're acquiring the material to do that, and it's been a slow process to build that house, I think, over there. But that's in progress. A number of trailers, people living in trailers coming up. It's really a matter of local ordinance rather than our regulations. So I've drafted a sort of a courtesy letter for our the first selectman to send in these situations, bringing people to the table. They're reluctant to get, and they're not happy about the short lifespan of these permits allowed by ordinance, but I think it will be effective in reducing the amount of people just hanging out, parking a trailer on somebody's property and living there. There's more of an awareness of this going on, and I think each of these stands out like a sore thumb to him now that he's been working in this ordinance a bit. Might see more of these on the docket. It was, I think, I don't quite recall the Route 171 raw lot. But it might have been clearing it for development purposes. I don't recall that one, so look back and see what I was working on with my record on the computer. And Woodstock Road, that situation that happened a couple months back. We don't really have the mechanisms to. No one department has the codes that'll really change any kind of situation there, and it'll be a team effort. Situations like that across health department, zoning, fire, building, to really affect any kind of change there, and where it's else, it's all over town. It just, there's no, this is an issue that's usually behind closed doors, but hoarding generally is estimated to be 5 to 8% of the population. And you really won't recognize it until there's trouble, or call for, yeah. So eventually there might need to be a proactive approach to noticing these situations and coming up with a plan to address them, for the resident well-being. It's a sad situation. I work a lot with it. When I was in Windsor Locks, I participated in a statewide policy working group on this issue and helped to organize conferences for zoning officials, social workers, fire marshals and such to attend a hoarding conference and to come up with best practices. And it really is a task force approach of every department and their set of rules. So the fire marshal can get you in the door, or the police are there to to help keep the situation calm and rational. A social worker there for the same reasons. We've got a long way to go to creating this kind of task force. Dick Barron was working on it quite a bit. Jay Swan was interested, and hoping to get Chan up to speed and have this something that we can implement and get ahead of some of these. Moving on to, there was a couple of releases of bonds. Grass is growing beautifully. They don't have structures really that are complicated for review. They were quite typical. And there were a couple letters of zoning compliance for properties in town. 1011 Route 169. That's Orange Art building. Before the sale, they requested a zoning compliance certificate, which I gave them the summary of the uses that were described at a previous meeting when the Mackins were here. And 7 Beaches Lane, I think, went through a sale, and they wanted to. They had, I think, 5 different buildings and 20-something units, so it was confirming all the businesses that were a lot of spa, wellness. I think there's a daycare in there. There are apartments that were pre-existing and not tough to identify when they were put in place. But there is some mixed use element there, rental apartments, accountants, but typically all office uses aside from that daycare. I classify these spas, the office spaces, but there, I recall a couple of those types of uses in that complex. But aside from that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Newtown had drag racing going on here a week ago. Is this gonna, I hope this isn't gonna be a regular issue.
On a landing strip.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, it's right across from me and it was all day.
I'll have a talk.
This is the 3rd year he's been doing it, it's constant. He's been doing it for years. It's great.
I'll routinely.
Once a month. It's a private club. We love it. We watch it for hours.
I don't know what our regs
Nice
are about that. They, sounds like special permit territory.
Sounds like a special permit to me.
He's not charging anyone to be there.
Yeah, it's a private club, there's no, it's just people. Yep. Using his property, a group of people privately.
Yeah, that might be unenforceable.
I'm just saying. When OOHO had all their music, that got shut down, didn't it?
They were charging admissions.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Do you know if the drag racing is payment? or
No,
admission
there's
fees?
no,
People to show up and.
it's not a charge for anything, it's just a private club using the strip.
Is that like a trigger for a special permit though to charge something? I don't recall that being in the ordinance anywhere, that once you charge a fee, it becomes something else, which requires a special permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Brown and Jacobson, is that Dexter's best place for orange art?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
10-11, like 15 minute, yeah.
Moving right along, your budget review and bills. We haven't spent any money recently, so. Haven't had to pay any bills.
Yeah, but you didn't hit your budget, you know, $300.
Yeah.
Budget on fees.
No, we came in on the budget, didn't we? Huh?
You were a little under, terrible.
$380.
Yes. The permit on that arbor.
Is there any other citizens comment from agenda item 12? And item 13, Julia. Well, there was a survey that came around. Reminder, for PZC members to take the survey, please. So that brings us to agenda item 14. Motion by. Second, your business warrants? Yes. All in favor? Hearing none. That, so, I have 904 people. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome. Everybody, up there, they see.